Hey there, welcome back. We are coming towards the end of this badass business planning course. We're still here in the Your Solution section. And here in this lesson, we're going to talk about analytics. And this is an important part of figuring out your business. And you can't do it until you're here because your analytics are something that you're going to have to figure out based upon what's come before. And before I talk about that process of figuring out your analytics and starting to define them, I want you to understand that analytics are crucial. Now, as much as we want to believe that, a lot of us might believe we're smart, we know things, we can figure things out, and all of those, at the end of the day, I can't tell you what's going to work for your business. You don't know what's going to work for your business, and no one else can tell you what will work and what you should be doing in your business, like on particular things. Ultimately, the only thing that will define and tell you what you should be doing in your business are the numbers. There is some art to marketing, but ultimately it is still science. And what I mean by that is you have to determine what is it that your market is telling you about what you're trying. And so this is where analytics come into play. If you are not tracking numbers, if you're not tracking the right numbers in your business, you're flying blind. You're literally just trying stuff, and you might be trying multiple things. You might not even know if it's working, or you might see revenue go up, but you don't know if it's because you did this thing or not. And so until you start really tracking analytics, you're not going to know what's happening in your business. So with that, let's talk about analytics. Now, you should be thinking about analytics from a couple of perspectives, but basically everything you define here within your solution section, you need to be tracking with analytics. So for your product mix, part of what you're going to want to understand is like, how much are you selling of each product? And if you only have one product, it's easy enough. But as your product mix gets more involved, you're going to want to know, well, what portion of our money comes from product one, product two, product three? So in my business, for example, on a quarterly basis, Katie Chase, who's my integrator, and we get together. She prepares a report where we look very clearly at what is the breakdown of where the revenue's coming from the different products in our business. That gives us a sign of what's working. So among other things, we know that on the legal stuff side of our business, the big driver is still our template library, our all access pass. That is by far our biggest driver of revenue. So we know that, and it will help us to kind of shape strategy. So that's kind of the product mix. You got to know if it's just one product, fine, you got to be tracking money, but also you need to be tracking the breakdown between products. Now, then within your acquisition strategy, this then is where the analytics start to kind of be a choose your own adventure. But there are certain things that all of us need to be tracking. You should be tracking your email list size. That should simply be something that you track on a regular basis. You also should have a metric of what is like the engaged portion of your email list? Because I don't care if you have 100,000 people on your email list, if literally 99,950 of them never open or engage with a single email. Now, open rates are tricky, and I'm not saying we're going to focus on that, but you need to have some metric for how engaged is your list. But your list size is a huge piece, and that's an analytic that everybody should be tracking. Beyond that, you need to be thinking for your different communication channels that we talked about, you're going to be tracking metrics. What metric you track will depend on the particular channel. So let me give you an example. For podcasts, you should be tracking podcast downloads. If that's what you're doing, you need to understand how many people are downloading your episodes. You need to be tracking it, looking at things, seeing trends. Is it growing? Is it slipping? Understanding all of that will affect what you do in your business. Now, you can also longer term get more involved, for example, and track, okay, we want total downloads, but also we want to know which episodes are 10 most downloaded this year. You might also track the number of downloads in the first week or the first month of each new episode. That might be something to track as well to see, hey, is this a particularly interesting one, or is this one, for example, if I look at my top 10 for the year, oftentimes they tend to be ones that were earlier in the year, but that's simply because those episodes have had more people, have had more time to download it. So understanding those analytics, but you have to craft that based upon your particular strategy. If it's YouTube, you need to look at subscribers and views and watch time, and you need to understand that and create a metrics and analytics dashboard based upon your YouTube channel. If your primary communication channel for long form content is a blog, it's how many people are visiting your blog. It is page views on the blog of your website. Now, you also probably want to then be tracking to say how many of those people convert, but your first top line metric is which like how many people are visiting, and over time, are certain of those posts ranking high on Google. If that's happening, that's an important thing and you should lean into it. So those are those communication channels, your primary ones, but then social media. You should also be tracking whether it's, I don't care if it's followers or connections, but whatever your primary channel is, the size of your audience. That's one metric. And then also the engagement level. You should be thinking about how engaged is my community on the social media channel. So those are your social metrics. Now, in addition to that, one thing you should be tracking that all of us should be tracking are website analytics, page views, unique visitors, what percentage is new versus used, or new versus old, or returning visitors. And tracking that over time will give you a sense of, what's happening in your business. Because generally speaking, if you have a Google Analytics loaded on your website, you should be seeing more traffic to your website overall over time. And that's something you should just be seeing as a general matter. So those are ones that we can be kind of generic about. But what I'm going to tell you is, once you've figured out your particular sales mechanism, then all of a sudden you'll have to figure out metrics and analytics to track over that acquisition strategy. Now, what I want you to do here is, you're not going to figure that out in detail for your sales strategy, because at this point, you don't know what that is. At this point, you came up with your best guess, but you're not yet to the point that you're selling a course if you're taking this. So let's wait, let's hold off on that. But what I want you to understand is, ultimately, when you get to the point of selling things and building funnels where, person comes into your list and then they take another action, and then you want them to take another action and another action, etc., you're going to have to track all of those different analytics over time. So for us, we would think about things like, okay, BOMU, how many people sign up for BOMU? But then there's some other important metrics as we're building it out. How many people take the first step of going to the BOM process page and at least checking off one of those objectives? Because that's a sign to us that, hey, they're doing something. And then another metric would be how many people then join our Facebook group, our free Facebook group. That's an important metric for us because it shows a sign of what's happening. Then we get into some other situations. We have quizzes and things like that. Seeing those metrics will be important. Seeing completion rates for different courses is also an important metric for us, because that tells us what's happening and how people are progressing through the program. That then feeds into our sales funnel for our membership, understanding how many people are opening the emails, are reading the emails, are clicking on the emails, clicking over to a sales page for the membership. All of that is important and impacts our understanding of what's happening in our funnel. So we have to be tracking all of those metrics along the way and testing and improving and figuring out what we can do better. So those are some of the things. Again, I'm not going to there's all kinds of other analytics that you'll do over time. For example, if you're running Facebook ads, you're going to be tracking those analytics. So all of these things you need to be tracking. But what I want you to do in this lesson, the point is not to get a detailed list of every single number you're going to track in your business. At this point, I want you to identify what are the big points. Once you figured out, hey, this is going to be my content channel, you identify, okay, it's podcast, so I need to be tracking downloads, or it's blog, I need to be tracking website visitors. So I want you to identify the one or two big ones for your content channel, identify your primary social channel, so then you can identify, hey, whether is it followers, group members, etc., and then identify what you anticipate being your primary opt-in, and thinking through how many of those opt-ins would you like to see on a weekly basis. That is the kind of stuff you want to be doing at this phase. You'll get more granular in analytics long term, but I wanted to highlight this for you because you need to be thinking about it even now. So that's analytics in a nutshell. Now, the next lesson is the final lesson in this course. We're going to talk about revenue and costs. Again, at this point, this is a thought exercise more than anything else. We'll keep that lesson short, but I will see you in the next lesson, and we will wrap up, and you'll be able to complete the Your Solution section of the Knowledge Brand Canvas.